First, I would like to thank our members. You guys are awesome for giving up part of your day to join us to learn more about SEMSEE. We greatly appreciate you. Presenting today is Jack Ferber, and Jack is our National Account Executive. And joining him is Eric DeFrancisco, and he's the Vice President of Sales. So we're going to go through from signing in to quoting. Any questions that you have, please put in the chat. And at the end of the webinar, we will give away two $25 Amazon gift cards. So I will put your name into, we're going to do it old school, and I'll put your name into the IIANC cup and draw it out at the end. So I don't know of any other way to handle that on a webinar. So again, thank you for being here. And at this time, I'll just turn it over to Jack.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. I really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone hopping on. Like Gina said, we're going to be respectful of your time. We'll definitely, hit the big points here. But like she mentioned, if you guys have questions throughout, Eric will be kind of monitoring the chat. So feel free to send those in the Q&A. And we also will have time for questions at the end. So I'll get started here. So I'm just going to start out with a kind of a welcome, which Gina actually kind of already gave us, and a quick intro into SEMSEE. Tell you a little about why you should be quoting with SEMSEE as an IMS member. We'll talk a little bit about what carriers we offer. I'm going to spend most of the time going through a quoting demo and kind of showing you guys what it looks like to go through a quote with SEMSEE, and then again, time for questions at the end. So like I said, feel free to throw them in the chat. But why should you quote with SEMSEE? So SEMSEE really kind of is a twofold product. So we started out as a comparative rater for your commercial markets, where you could plug in your direct appointments and quote them all in one quote flow, where we kind of compile the question set into one application and really just save you time quoting your commercial markets. Over time, we've also evolved a little bit more into the market access side. So we do have a full host of markets, which we'll get into a little bit later, that are our markets. So if you don't have access to those markets, you can quote them with SEMSEE. And the really nice thing about SEMSEE is that you can quote your direct appointments as well as our host of market access carriers, all within the same quote flow. So we'll dedupe questions, pull it all together into one single application. So instead of going and marketing out to all your different carriers individually, you can do it all in the same quote flow, which will just allow you to quote more markets faster and gain access to additional markets. We've really friendly and user-centered interface, which is constantly evolving. So we do take user feedback into account and really try and get you through the quote flow as quickly as we can. And as I mentioned, you do have access to both your appointed commercial carriers as well as our additional markets, all in that same flow. And we do have a pretty diverse carrier stack currently. So pretty much have a market for just about anything you could need on the commercial side, different lines across all 50 states. So it is worth noting, and we will be sending in our carrier grid a little bit later in this. That just kind of tells you who we have for market access, who we have where you can enter your directs. We aren't currently able to sync up with every commercial market for direct appointments. Just comes down to whether we can sync up with them via API. But we do have a pretty extensive stack there. So for us, really our sweet spot is commercial clients, premiums under 20K. Obviously, we do see larger than that. But for the most part, that's what we see the most of. And as I mentioned, pretty diverse set of lines we can quote through, cover just about everything. So whether it's, your more basic BOP, GL, workers' comp, we do commercial auto, cyber, MPL. We have both admitted and non-admitted markets, and we do have a pretty extensive excess and surplus program as well. So in terms of carriers and coverage, Eric is going to send in our carrier grid here in the chat just for you guys to reference. Feel free to save that and keep it for later. But what you'll see is the carrier name as well as what lines they write. If you see this orange D here, that means if you have a direct appointment with them, you can plug it in and quote their lines, and I'll take you through that flow once we get into the actual demo. It's a pretty seamless process, and if you see this gray M here, that means that we have a market access available for that. So you'll see some of them have both, or a good portion of them have both direct and market access. So once you sign in for the first time, it will default to market access until you plug in your directs. So if you don't have a direct appointment, you still have the ability to access them through our market access program for the majority of the carriers that we offer. So yeah, Eric will send that in the chat. Feel free to look over that. And like I said, going to spend most of the time here just going through a demo. If I can get out of this. There we go. So can everyone can see my screen still on the SEMSEE platform?
We can.
Take that as a yeah. Okay, good. So first thing I'll start with in here is the first time you sign into SEMSEE, this is what kind of your dashboard will look like. So you'll see here, we do have an appetite checker. This one is specifically for BOP, but luckily we are in the final stages of rolling out a full scope appetite checker that will allow you to check pretty much every line. So you can put in what type of coverage you're looking for, what line, and the state, and it'll tell you kind of what our options are there. So that should roll out here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So pretty excited about that. It'll allow you to check appetite for our full host of carriers without actually hopping into a quote. But I will show you our system, once you actually enter in some basic information, will take out any carriers that aren't a fit for that risk. So I'll show you guys that when I get into a quote. And then this is where your submissions live. So the nice thing about SEMSEE, if you start an application, put in any information whatsoever, it will automatically save for you. So you don't have to worry about losing your progress. You can always just continue here. It'll show you what lines you're quoting, the name of the client, what your status is. So here it shows application in progress, just means we haven't submitted it yet, but you'll see, you can see once something's actually submitted, we can review it. You can also see how many responses you've received. So after I go through the quote flow, I'll show you guys what that looks like and kind of the multitude of different responses you might receive. But you can also go down here to our resource center. The one in the actual portal is much more extensive than this. This is kind of our sandbox that I can use to show you guys how quoting works. But we'll have some resources in here. So if I clicked into auto symbol selection, if you're not familiar with commercial auto and you're quoting it, here's just a quick guide on the symbols and what they mean. And then you'll see in here, we do have a pretty extensive help center. So questions about setup, quoting, what do my responses mean? Just quick feature guide, as well as a host of video resources that we have for you as well. So I definitely encourage you to use that help center, whenever you can. Also, feel free to reach out to me. I'm kind of your guys' main point of contact moving forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions, whether they be technical, appetite, or anything else really. But we do have a pretty good help center in here that will answer a lot of questions for you. But happy to help as well. And then finally here on the dashboard, we have My Markets. So this will just show you who you're currently activated to quote with. So consistent across our entire platform, if you see via SEMSEE Market Access, that just means that you're accessing through our Market Access platform. If you scroll down a little bit here, if you plug in a direct, it'll look like this. A lot of ours are showing these little error messages. It just, most of the time, you just have to add your password. But if you see here, with this little link here, this means they're set up, you've got your credentials in there, and if you go into quote with this market, it'll actually bridge over to that carrier's portal with your direct code. So you can go in here and see all your different carriers that you can quote with. But I'll show you guys how to actually add those in. So if I go up here to this account/settings page, here's where you can change your password. You can see my agency's carriers. As I had mentioned before, we do have a large amount of carriers that you can add in your direct appointments. We don't have every carrier, but if you click here, add a carrier, there is a little drop-down menu. So this will show you everyone that we're able to add direct appointments in for. It's as simple as just selecting one, putting in your primary agency code. You can give it a nickname if you'd like, and then save and close, and it'll bridge over. And then you just need to put your login credentials in. And I will go a little bit further into what that process looks like. But it's as simple as that, to put your carriers in, and then you can see like these ones all say active, which means they're good to go. And if you get any kind of error message, it'll tell you what the issue is. Most of the time, you just have to add your credentials in. And then same thing here with agency users. If you need to add additional users in, whether you hire someone new, you can just go in here, click add another user, put in their basic information, select a role for them. So the main two roles here are user and admin. Only real difference between those is an admin has the ability to edit the agency's carriers and add additional users. But you add these in and you'll get a welcome email pretty much immediately. So it'll give them a temporary password, allow them to log in and then set a permanent password. So if you do need to add any additional users, super easy to do it here on the platform. I'll show you guys what a quote flow looks like. So it's as simple as just going up here in the corner, clicking start here. So we can put in the insured's name. So you can start an application via a Accord upload here. It's not required, but if you do have an Accord form, you can upload that. And it'll scrape that for any basic information. But I'll search a restaurant down the street from me. You'll see anything that comes up that says existing just means we've quoted it before. So if you're going in and quoting something twice, it will pop up here as existing. We'll also search like Google and can pull from here. So you'll see it pops up for Briar Common. If I click this, it'll just want to confirm this is the right area. And if it is, I can click confirm and add in as new, and it will save all of this information here. If you don't see it pop up, whether you're quoting a smaller business that maybe doesn't have a web presence, it doesn't need to have any kind of web presence. You can just go type the name in. It just won't pull this mailing address for you automatically, but you can still enter it in manually. Moving forward to selecting our business code. So our system will actually use kind of AI to search the web for anything it can find about this specific risk. If you're typing it in manually and they don't have a web presence, you will have to select a NAICS code manually, but this is just our AI system retrieving information to suggest a NAICS code to you. So you'll see it pops up for full service restaurants. In a second, it'll give me a little business summary as well. So it'll tell you everything that it pulled from the web, whether it's hours, what they do, when they started. It'll give you some information there. But if you do want to search for one, you can always just go in here. If I wanted to look at restaurants, it'll actually pull them for you. So we do go based off the NAICS codes, and that's the quick way to do it. So I'll click select here. Sometimes you will have to choose a sub description as well. So this is family restaurant, and now everything looks good. We can move on. This one is where you can add locations for the insured. So you can see we can do a separate mailing address and physical location. You can also do multiple locations here, but this is where you'd enter that in. And again, since I selected from the list, or if you upload an Accord form, this actually will all be there for you. And then moving forward to contact, just have to put in the primary contact, put my name in, and we can move forward. So next we're going to get into line selection. So as I mentioned, multitude of different lines that we can quote here. If you see anything grayed out, it just means that already off the bat, we don't have any carriers that would fit that. So you can see here trucking is grayed out because we wouldn't have any trucking carriers that'll write family restaurants. It's not applicable. So it'll gray it out for you. Same here with architectural and engineering professional liability. So if I wanted to quote BOP and workers' comp, for example, I can click those. Also in here, we do have the ability to generate Accord forms for you. So a lot of people see this, they don't like dealing with Accords. So they don't want to click anything here. This is not Accords that you'll have to upload. It's quite the opposite. We'll actually generate them on your behalf. So if I wanted a 125, I can click there. And as I go through and fill out my application within SEMSEE, when we get to the end and submit it, it'll actually give you downloadable PDFs of the Accord forms. And then moving forward, it's going to skip this second one here, locations per line, because we just have that one location. If you did have multiple locations, it'll just ask you if you want to quote BOP and workers' comp for each location or just for one, and then quote something else for another. But since it's just one location, it'll actually skip that section for you. And then this is where we get into carrier selection. So as I mentioned before, appetite checker coming soon to do all this on the front end. But what this is doing here is going based on the state you put in, the lines you're quoting, and the class of business, and it'll actually filter out any carriers that are not a fit, just based on that basic information. So everyone here has some match within their appetite for BOP for family restaurants. So if I wanted to click one here, I can add a few in here. Thing to note is you'll see some of these, like Bybrick, for example, it'll say 3 matches found. So if you click into that, it's just going to want you to put in the Bybrick BOP class code. So that's some of our carriers will use their own specific class codes as well. So it'll suggest it for you. So you just want to make sure that you're filling in this section. If I was to click it and not fill this in, I'll try and move to the next page, and it'll actually pull me back and say, hey, you're missing some information. So not all of them will ask for this. Some will. It just depends how many codes and how they classify within their system for how many matches that we pull. But you can see this one, for example, 1 match, and you just want to make sure that everything is looking good there. You see some of them will ask for some additional information. So I'm looking at all my carriers for BOP now. If everything looks good, I want to quote these. I can move forward, and now I'm selecting for workers' comp. So I'll select a few here. Same process. You see if there's 3 matches found, we're just going to want to make sure that we're selecting those accordingly.
Jack, may I ask a question while you're on this page?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I see that Liberty Mutual is one of the choices in the selection. But on the carrier grid, it's only has the D for direct appointments only. So they would have to already have a direct appointment to be able to access that.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's a good thing for me to touch on here. As I had mentioned before, anything that says via SEMSEE is going to be through market access. You can see here on Great American, for example, we see via SEMSEE. If I go down to Liberty Mutual, this is an agency code. So this would show your unique agency code if you had put in your Liberty Mutual appointment. But since we don't have market access for most of our carriers, if we do direct, we also can do market access. But if we don't, like Liberty Mutual, for example, it just wouldn't populate for you. Good question. But yeah, that's consistent across our entire platform. If you see this via SEMSEE, you're quoting them via market access. And this one is our demo portal is not a great representation of what it'll look like on your end because we have agency codes put in for a lot of them, but yours will say via SEMSEE for all these market access carriers unless you have a direct appointment in there. Cool. So I'll continue here. So I've already selected all my carriers. It'll now create the application for me. So a couple things to note in here. First thing I do when I go in and start an application is I go to this show only section down on the bottom. And what you can do is filter down to only required questions. So you'll see for here, for example, inspection contact is an optional question from one of our carriers. I can click required and it'll just take that out of the application for you. So I think that's really the first thing I do. It'll filter out any questions that you're not required to answer. They're not going to factor into pricing, so there's really no reason for you to answer them. So that's the first thing I do. Another nice thing that we can do here is this flag functionality here. So I can click this flag. If I'm going through and I don't know the answers to all the questions, I can go through, flag them here. I can go to multiple different sections and flag. Like if I want to go to additional coverages or here, I can flag a few questions here. And what that'll do is if I go here, I can then filter down to only my flagged questions. And you can actually copy this, send it off in an email, or just pull it up and get on the phone with the insured and get the answers to any questions you might not know. You also have the ability to go to only unanswered questions, which does the same sort of thing. But why I prefer to do the flag functionality is you'll see if I go to unanswered questions on the business profile, it's only going to show me my unanswered questions on this business profile. It's not going to show me unanswered questions on, location coverages or location exposures. But if I go to flagged, it'll pull them all into one sheet. So it just makes it much easier to navigate. So if you're going through, an application, you don't know the answers to every question, I just go and I tag that with this little flag section here, and then you can go back to them and copy them or get on the phone. Another thing that we have in here that I think is worth noting is this question mark here. So if you click this question mark right here, it'll show you who's asking that question for what application. So you can see Guard for BOP is asking about hired and non-owned auto liability coverage. There is this box for insight about this question that is populated by the carriers, and the spirit of full transparency, they're not really great about putting something in there. We want to make it more of a required box for these carriers, but most of the time, if there's a question on their application that they're getting a lot of questions about, they will put some insight in there. But if you don't see anything there, it just means the carrier didn't put anything in there. But I think this is a great feature to be able to see what for what line and what carrier is asking this, because as you're getting more familiar with our market access carriers, it'll give you a good idea of who's likely to ask what types of questions. And you may find that for the type of businesses that you're quoting, certain carriers may ask a lot of questions and not typically be very competitive in the type of stuff that you're quoting. So that'll give you an idea that maybe that's not a carrier that you'd like to quote with moving forward. So it just gives you an idea of who's asking what kinds of questions, and really who's asking the most questions, to just keep, learn a little bit more about the carriers and, what they're likely to ask. So I definitely recommend, clicking on this. It'll just tell you who's asking it for what line, and then you'll know moving forward. I'm not going to go through the entire application here, but once you actually go and submit it, I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like, and the quote results. So I'll find one here that's already been submitted. Right here, this is a good one. So I'll go review this one. You can click review after you've already submitted it. And you can see, I can view my application answers here. I can also download those Accord forms. Like I mentioned, if you select that, you'll have the ability to download these. We do have this duplicate application section up here, which is worth touching on. So once you've actually submitted something with SEMSEE, we don't have an edit button, just because we're sending off to so many different carriers. So we don't want to go in and edit the application, but what we can do really easily is just click duplicate application here. And what this will do is it'll take every single answer you had, keep them all here, and it'll essentially take you to right before you submitted the policy or submitted the quote. So I can go, all my carriers will be saved here. You'll see everything is exactly the same. But I can go into, for one of these is, quoting a couple lines here, but I'll continue. You can see I'll have all my application answers here. So if you needed to change something, whether it's payrolls or just one to change a coverage, you actually can just do that here. So you can go make a change. Like if I wanted to change the limits here, I can change that and then just resubmit. And it'll have the new answers on there. So anything that you put in on here, we can't edit per se, but we can duplicate. It'll take all of those answers, put it into a new application, and you can just change that question and resubmit. So that's what that duplicate application section is for. But let me pull this back up. I'll show you what a few of the results you may get. So you can see again, as I mentioned, it says via SEMSEE, means you're quoting it through market access. But we have it broken down by line in here. So we got cyber, workers' comp, BOP, and so this one's not via SEMSEE. So this would be through a Chubb direct appointment. You'll get this go to quote. So if you click this and you're synced up, I don't have a Chubb login, so it's going to stop me here. But you can just put in, once you put in your user ID and password, it'll remember it, and it'll actually bridge over to that carrier portal as if you had quoted it with them. You can kind of finish the quote there. You may see this preliminary from some carriers. This is akin to needing to be reviewed. So you can go finish with carrier, answer any questions they have, and continue on their portal. So that's what it looks like if you plug your direct appointments in. You quote it through SEMSEE. It'll most of the time give you an indication, and then you just bridge it over to the carrier portal and continue from there. If you get a declination, there is this little bubble right here, and this is our SEMSEE sandbox again. So the IMS one, it's actually blue, and it'll say IMS up in the corner. But if you click here, it'll tell you the reason for declination. So this one was declined due to the percentage of work subcontracted for this BOP application from travelers. So if you get a declination and you're curious why it was declined, this little bubble right here will tell you. But you'll see here a couple different results we can get. So these ones are market access. It's a little bit of a different process. So we can see a few quotes here. They all look a little bit different. And I'll kind of go through those. So you can just download the docs right here. These ones are both good to go. If you have the option to download docs and request bind, it means it's a good quote, good to bind. Our bind process is very simple. You can just click request bind here. Select the effective date, the correct effective date, and type your name and request bind. And then our team just has to confirm the bind with the carrier, and then we'll send you the follow-up from there. It's pretty quick. Same thing here with request review. So you'll see some of them will offer the ability to request review. Within our system, anything under 2,500, you won't have that request review button. But if you do click request review, there's an option to put in a note for the underwriting team. You can put in a need by date. So if the effective date is 7/1 and you need it by 6/15, you can put in that need by date. Current carrier, these are all optional. Current carrier, expiring premium, target premium. You can upload any supporting documentation. So loss runs, supplemental apps, court forms, anything like that. And then send it off to us. So if you do submit anything and you need it ASAP, feel free to shoot me a message. I can always move stuff up in the queue with the underwriters. Our typical turnaround time is 24 to 48 hours, just because we have to communicate back and forth with the carriers. But feel free to sync me in on anything if you need something super ASAP. I'm happy to help with that. Yeah, so we'll send it off to the underwriters. They'll review it, and then the important thing to note with sending for review is that all communication from there will be via email. We're in the process and kind of wanting to make everything in SEMSEE itself. Currently it's via email, so you'll get an email that says it's been assigned to this underwriter, and then they'll communicate with you with any questions they may have. So just keep an eye on your email if you have anything in review. Would like to make this all in-app messaging, but for now it's through email. And also worth noting, it will not go to an underwriter unless you request review. So this one does not need to be reviewed because we have that request bind option. We have our docs, but if you have one that pops up that just says request review, you do have to request review on it. So if that indication looks like potentially a winning bid, just click request review, send it off to an underwriter, we'll review it, connect with the carrier, and then get to you from there. So that's pretty much all the options that you'll see in here. And we also do cross-sell cyber. So our system will automatically quote cyber for you. So you'll see a multitude of cyber carriers in here that will pop up for you. So it'll just take the information that you use to quote the other ones and quote cyber for you. So if you see that. That's pretty much all I have on the demo side. Get back to, I think I have a few more slides. If I can get it to go full screen again.
Jack, while you were on the login page, if someone has forgot, oh, never mind. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, you almost beat me to it, Gino. But in terms of getting started, it's just ims.semsee.com is the IMS specific landing page. So it is worth noting that SEMSEE.com to the main SEMSEE page will not recognize you because it is that IMS specific landing page. So you want to make sure you're at ims.semsee.com. But you can just enter your email address and click forgot password and you'll get a reset link sent straight to you. I have noticed sometimes those do tend to go to spam. It doesn't come from me. It comes from kind of like an automated address. So if you do click that forgot password and you don't get anything, feel free to send me a message. I can create a temporary password on your behalf and send it over to you. We do sometimes have issues with those forgot password. It works probably 90% of the time. But if you are having any issues, feel free to reach out to me. But yeah, as mentioned, once you get in there, you can add in your direct appointments, any additional users within the portal. If you're not currently appointed with us, reach out to Gina, and we can get that process started. Once we get your information over from IMS, it's a pretty quick process. We can get you set up in 5 to 10 minutes and get a welcome email sent out to you. But yeah, I would like to turn it to you guys for questions. As I mentioned, I like to be relatively brief and like to spend most of the time giving you guys an opportunity to ask any questions you may have.
I don't see any questions coming up in the question and answer.
Might have to call on people.
Yeah. No.
No question.
Oh,
There's no
there's one.
questions. Oh, we got one? When is commercial auto available? So we do have a few commercial auto carriers in there currently. So Guard, we're in the process of final stages of rolling out Nirvana, which is an ENS kind of trucking commercial auto product nationwide. Am I missing any, Eric? What else do we have? Star.
Pie.
Pie's in kind of limited states. I do know. They're I don't know what they're updated. It used to be 3 or 4 states. I think they're up to 6 or 7 now. I have some more information on that. So we do have commercial auto carriers in there currently.
And it looks like I'm looking at the grid, and I'm going to email that to all of you so that you'll have it. But Guard is available through the SEMSEE market access. So that would be one of your markets. And we do receive many calls from members who are looking for commercial auto alternative markets. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something we're making a big push on to continue to add markets in that space. So, Nirvana, Star Mutual, we've added pretty recently. So there's definitely a need for it. So we're always looking to add more markets. So definitely, feel free to, be open with me or Gina, and what are you guys struggling to place? And we do have a carrier team. We'd love to add markets that are going to be of use to you guys. So we'll always keep that in mind.
That's great. To be able to add markets.
Mhm.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and draw for our $25 gift cards. I do appreciate everybody staying on, and Jack and Eric, thank you for your time today. We appreciate our partnership with SEMSEE and look forward to growing. So our first winner is Norimi Scarpati. So I'll be sending you an Amazon gift card by email. And the second winner is Becky Johnson, but it looks like Becky fell off. So we're going to draw another. And Cesar Alvarenga. So I will be sending you a Amazon gift card as well. As Jack stated, if you have any questions regarding any markets available through SEMSEE, I'm going to be sending out the grid. But if you have need for additional markets, let us know. And also I'll send out the link to our IMS website so you can check out all the carriers that we currently have participating through IMS. Thank you again to our members. We appreciate you more than you know, and we're here to assist in any way we can. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.